Component elements like counters, bars, and gauges offer a great way to visualize your data in an interactive way. They're often used in reports, white papers, or data-heavy documents where you would normally display raw data or boring statistics. With Maglr, you can bring your data into these interactive components to increase the readability and make them more fun to read in the process. So in this course, we're learning all about counters, bars, and gauges, and we'll learn when and how we can use them to visualize our data. And we'll also make them interactive by setting up states for these elements. And we'll connect these states with interactions. And this eventually helps us to turn this sheet of boring data into this interactive visualization. Much more fun to look at. So when do you use each of these components? If your focus lies on the data itself, or you just want to show a specific number, the counter option works best. But if you want to offset this number as part of a total value, you can choose between bars and gauges. These two elements are similar in behavior, but different in design. So which one you select is just a matter of preference. I've got a page here that we're going to use to show products sold, revenue per client, and total revenue in recent years across 3 different countries. Let's start by adding a counter. These allow you to display specific numbers and count up or down to these numbers. I'm going to use one to show the amount of products sold. So I'll drag a counter to my canvas and on the right side, click the settings to start editing it. There are 4 tabs showing now: values, layout, text, and animation. The values tab allows me to set up a from value, or a value at which the counter should start. And we'll just count up from 0 here. I can also set up steps for which I can use a label. And I'll name my label 2022 and I'll set the value to 83. Now, I've also got values for 23, 24, and 25. So I'm going to add more steps to my counter and set these up. 23's value is 88, 24's is 96, and 25's 112.
Showing good growth.
You know this is fictional data, right? I can also set up the amount of decimals my counter should show. I don't need decimals in my values, so I'll keep this value at 0. And I can check the Show Leading Zeros option, which shows an amount of numbers based on the total amount of numbers in my counter. My maximum value is 112, which contains 3 numbers. So 83 shows as 083 with the leading zeros enabled. In the Layout tab, I can determine how the counter is positioned within the element frame. I'll keep it aligned to the left-hand side. In the Text tab, I can add some text before or after the counter. Let's see what it looks like if I add products behind the counter. That looks too cluttery. Let's not do that. Finally, in the Animation tab, I can further refine the animation performed by my counter. By default, the numbers are automatically animating as the counter is counting up from 0 to 83. And with the scrolling numbers option, the numbers are, well, scrolling into view. I can also determine the duration of the animation. And by default, it takes 1000 milliseconds, meaning 1 second, for the counter to finish counting. Lastly, below the settings of my counter, we can separately style our counter, the before text or even the after text. For the next item, or the average revenue per client, I'm going to add a bar to my canvas. Click Settings and we'll see mostly the same settings we already saw with the counter elements. I can add a from value and set up different steps, and we can see the values, layout, text, and animation tabs, just like with the counter element. Where it differs though, is that we've got an actual bar for this element. But for the bar to fill itself with the value we set, we also need to set up start and end values. I'll keep my min range at 0 and set the max range at 20,000. If you're using percentages, you can set these to 0 and 100, for example. Now, let's set up the steps again. For 2022, I'll set it to 7,000, 23 gets 5,600, 24 gets 5,250, and 25 gets 6,300. In the Layout tab, we can also see some additional options to configure the bar. And the same goes to the styling section, where we can further style the background of the bar, as well as the bar or the indicator itself. And with the power of post-production, I've also managed to add the other counters bars, and also some gauges that show the percentage of total revenue for these years for each of the 3 countries. Let's preview the page to see what it all looks like. So we've got all of these components counting up to a certain number. We've set all of these labels for different years though, but there's no way to view these numbers yet, because I've added some buttons for each of the years, and we're going to attach the labels of our components to these buttons. To do that, I'll select the button and head on over to the Interactions tab. Choose the Control Element option, and from the drop-down menu, select the counter I want to control. Now, under the Action drop-down, I can choose exactly what I want the element to do. Here, I can see all of the labels I added to my counter. So in my case, I'll select the label 2022. And with a plus icon in the top right, I can set up additional control element interactions for each of the other counters. Now, I'll take a step back and ask my AI to connect each of the remaining buttons to the correct labels of my components. Or I mean, HI, or human intelligence. We prefer human support here at Maglr. Thanks, Ben. Let's hit preview mode once again to see the results. Now, clicking any of these buttons makes all of my elements move and show different values. That's so cool. I could do this all day.
Let's finish up.
Right, so in this course we learned all about counters, bars and gauges. We learned about their differences and when to use which ones. We then set up a counter on our page, giving it different labels for each of the years we're reporting on. We also configured a bar where you could set a minimum and maximum range along which the bar could fill itself. Then we magically added all of the other counters, bars and gauges to the page. We also placed buttons for each year, and we used the control element interaction to attach the button to a counter's label. And we used our HI to attach the buttons to all of our counters. We ended up with an interactive data visualization showing different values for various years. Now you know everything to get started with interactive data visualization using counters, bars and gauges in Maglr.